Welcome back, folks. This is Suave, and today, as you can see, we have some products to open. We have the Amazon Japan exclusive bundle featuring the card storage box and the 4 starter decks. I'm really excited to get these things open, so let's go ahead and get things started. Alrighty, first thing is first, we have this card storage box, and it actually came unassembled. You actually have some instructions here on how to assemble it yourself, so let's see if I can go ahead and get this thing figured out. Alrighty, it took me a second, but we managed to figure this thing out, and it's actually a pretty cool little box. It's nothing too special. Obviously, it's just a thin cardboard like we were seeing earlier. It has a bit of a glossy finish to it. You got the silhouette of Luffy here, the One Piece card game logo. If you look real closely, you can kind of see some map outlines that are like in a dark gray, dark bluish color in the back. All around the box is kind of the same deal going on. The logo with the same map designs all over. And the back side and underneath is just a little credits down here, made in Japan, Bandai. Inside, nothing too fancy. It's just a white interior. So you can just hold a few cards in here. And that's pretty much it for the card storage box. Next up, let's go ahead and open up the red Luffy starter deck and see what we got going on inside. Alright, here we go. So inside, it looks like we have... It looks like the rules manual. I think this rules manual turns into a playmat on the other side, if I'm not mistaken. It's usually how these card games go. So we have the Japanese rule book that we've seen in the past. And yeah, we have here the playmat area itself. So a little paper playmat. And then we have here the actual starter deck itself. So we got 2 packs, one featuring Luffy on the front, the other featuring Zoro on the front. Let's go ahead and get these cards open and see what it's inside. So this first card pack has Luffy on the front. Let's go ahead and open this up here. We can actually see the card back for the Dons, I believe. This is the green and white card back. So we have, let me see if I can get up close and personal with this one. This is Monkey D. Luffy, the leader card. So this is a really nice foiling that they got here in the back. Really love the artwork for this one. This is a really awesome card. Really can't wait to see this coming out in English and getting all the effects. You even have a little hollow foil here for the name as well. So let's go ahead and move forward. So here we have 4 copies of Vivi. This is actually really good card stock too. It's really nice and thick. We got 4 copies of Frankie. This is the 4 cost for 6,000 vanilla character. We have Brook. 2 cost for 3,000 power. And here we have a foil border Luffy. This is the 5 cost for 6,000 power. It's a really nice border foil as well. Oh, even the name as well. The name and the character text on the bottom also has a foiling to it as well. So we got 2 copies of him. We have the 2 copies of Guard Points, the event card, and as well as 2 copies of Gum Gum Jet Pistol. We have 2 copies of Diablo Jambe and 2 copies of the stage card, the Thousand Sunny. And of course we have the Dawn cards that are going to be used for your Dawn deck. Okay, so now we have the other half of the starter deck. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. And here we have 2 copies of our foil Zoro. Really nice foiling there on the border like we saw with the Luffy card. So really nice for starter deck foils. We have 4 copies of Usopp, our 2 cost for 2,000. We have 4 copies of Karoo. I was actually kind of wondering whether or not that image for Karoo was still going to be a little blurry here on the actual card, and it kind of is. But I think that's just because of the anime from how long ago it was from. So here we have 4 copies of Sanji, our rush character, 2 cost for 4,000. 3 copies of Jinbei. Or sorry, 4 copies of Jinbei, 3 cost for 5,000. 4 copies of Tony Tony Chopper. Of course, our navigator, 4 copies of Nami herself. And the lovely Nico Robin, 4 copies of her. Awesome. Next we have Kid, who is the leader card for the Worst Generation starter deck. So let's go ahead and get this thing open. Starting things off, we have our leader card, Captain Eustace Kid. We have the same kind of foiling and the background image that we have for the Monkey D. Luffy leader card. Now we're going to see the rest of the deck. So we have 2 copies of Rouge. We have 2 copies of Killer. 2 Basil Hawkins, 2 copies of Eustace Kid, the 7 cost for 7,000 power. You can see this is the same type of foiling that we saw earlier with the borders for Zoro. We have 4 copies of Drake, 2 copies of the event card Scalpel, 4 copies of the event card Repel, and 2 copies of Straw Sword, and the rest are the Dawn cards that we get for the all starter decks. Here we have the second half of the green deck. So we have 2 copies of Law with the border foiling, 4 copies of Vito, 4 copies of Capone Veggie, nice little cheap blocker. Here we go, 4 copies of Kobe, everyone's favorite. We have 4 copies of Jewelry Bonnie, 4 copies of Apu, 4 copies of Heat, as well as last but not least 4 copies of Beppo. Now we're going to go to my personal favorite, the 7 Warlords Blue starter deck. Let's go ahead and see what's inside. Here we have the blue leader, Crocodile. Same foiling and same pattern like always, so it's pretty consistent with all the leaders so far. We have 2 copies of the blocker Crocodile, 5 cost for 6,000 with the border foiling. 2 copies of Gecko Mori, a very useful card. We'll go ahead and talk about more of these starter decks more in depth in future videos. We got 2 copies of Dracule Mihawk, 2 copies of Sentomaru, 2 copies of Marshall D. Teach. We got 4 copies of the event card Sables or Sables, 4 copies of Thrust Pad Cannon. I don't know what happened with my words there. 2 copies of Love Beam, and of course the 10 Don cards. Let's go ahead and see the second half of the blue deck. Here we go, we got 2 copies of Doflamingo with the border foiling, 4 copies of Edward Weevil, 4 copies of Jinbei. We got 4 copies of Law, our cheap blocker, 4 copies of Kuma. We have 4 copies of Buggy with the zoomed in face, 4 copies of Pacifista, very useful card with Sensomaru, and 4 copies of Boa Hancock. And last but not least, we have the purple starter deck featuring Kaido and the Animal Kingdom Pirates. Here we have Kaido, the leader card. He's a very big character, that's why he's pretty much covering that usual design that you get with the other guys. Next up, you have the 9 cost Kaido, 9 cost for 10,000 power with the border foiling. 2 copies of Queen the Plague, 2 copies of Jack, 2 copies of Who's Who. You have 2 copies of the event card All-Star Calamities, 2 copies of Brachio Bomber, and 4 copies of Blast Breath, as well as 4 copies of the stage card Onigashima. And you have the 10 Don cards over here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the second half of the purple deck. Alrighty, we're almost done. Here we go. Pushing all these out. We have 2 copies of King with the border foiling, 6 cost for 7,000. 4 copies of Ulti, she's our plus 2,000 counter, she's a 4 cost for 5,000. 4 copies of Sasaki. 4 copies of Sheep's Head. 4 copies of Jin Rummy. 4 copies of the lovely Black Maria. We got 4 copies of Page 1. And last but not least, we have 4 copies of X Drake. That's going to do it for the unboxing, folks. Be sure to stick around and subscribe because we will be posting more videos of each of these starter decks, going more in depth of what each card does, the playstyle, tips and tricks, and we might even see some gameplay examples for each one of these decks. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you think about these starter decks, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone.